Hey, it's Tim, Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk, and I want to address some questions I got from a video I put out the other day where I used this truck, this 2021 F-150 hybrid with a 7.2 kilowatt onboard generator to power a camper. And we did a test for a couple hours, let the truck run, ran the AC, and I thought it was a really good test because it was heat of the day and I didn't really use any gas at all. So check the video out. But the question was, how in the hell did I not fry the electronics? So let me explain this for a minute. 3.5 liter V6 engine that sends power through electric motor that works connection to that combination. But anyways, in simplest terms, there's the engine, there's battery, there's plugs. Okay, the engine charges the battery powers the plugs. That's how you get the generator kind of aspect of this. Goes to the inverter. There's an inverter there too because of the power driven from the vehicle, but that charges the plugs. You draw your power from the plugs. And so in this case, what I did was I was using not these 110 volt 20 amp plugs. This is what these are. You can see it written right there. And I was using instead the 240 volt plug-in right there, which is like your dryer plug. This is 30 amps of service, and this sucks. This is a terrible design for it. Need to fix that. But anyways, so what did I learn about this whole process? And I've done a bunch of research today. I actually called an electrician on this too because it's kind of confusing. That is a 30 amp plug, and that's important because campers majority of campers I've been looking at are rated at 30 amps of overall service, 30 amps. And so they're typically done with 120 volts of power going. That's how much power is going out to them, like a flow of the river. And how much power they're drawing in is the amperage. So it's like 120 volts and 30 amps of overall power being driven and being used in the cabin and the camper. So that means your stoves, your microwaves, your refrigerators, your AC unit. And so in my case, I had a 13,500 BTUs air conditioner, which draws about 13.3 amps of power on 110 volt or 120 volts. And so I was powering that and a few lights. So I was only using 1,600 watts of power, 1,700 watts of power. So not very much at all. But I was using that plug, and the big plug, if you remember, I said earlier in the video, that's 240 volts of power. Well, that's like, imagine like taking a little tiny sailboat on the Rio Grande or the ocean. I was sending way too much power to the truck, and I should have either done some breakers or I should have fried some electronics. Something should have happened to destroy that. However, this is where things get a little bit more interesting. That is the dryer hookup, and in that video I told you I bought this plug from Amazon. Now this plug is a 30 amp for the male and 30 amp for the female, and it's for RV generators. And the idea here is you plug out of here. All right, go away. The idea is you take your plug from the camper, which is typically this style, the 3-prong, because it's 120 volts. So I have a neutral, a ground, and a power. And you plug this into your generator. Now this is a typical generator hookup, like the dryer kind of hookup. And that actually plugged right in the truck. So it goes right in this plug here. It goes right in. And then I plugged in my cable from the camper here. Now, the idea was, in people's minds was, hey, you have 240 volts coming out of this. Isn't that 240 volts going to kill the camper? Now, the instructions on this say the maximum output is 125 volt or 3,750 watts. Well, initially I thought, well, I'm below the watts, that's okay, but the voltage is another big question. So I ended up calling an electrician, a friend of mine, and we talked about this a little bit in this specialized adapter. Some people said, well, does it deregulate the power? Is that why you didn't blow stuff? Did you just get lucky? Like, I might have just got lucky. No, actually I didn't. If you look at this plug, I got 4 prongs on this plug, right? So I have a ground, neutral, and 2 power. And these 2 powers, basically it's 120, 120 equals 240. On the backside, I do not. I have 1 prong of power coming out. So what this does is it basically takes the 2 sets of 120 and it drops one off. The one disappears in the plug, goes away. You're not drawing power into that. And so I'm only going to put out at that camper 120 volts of power, which is important because I'm not using both prongs, and I'm using 30 amps of overall power draw in the camper. So 30 amps is my max, as we said, from that outlet. So I was actually okay. Big sigh of relief there. Could have been $1,000 security deposit gone. But it actually was okay because I didn't use all the power from that plug, all the volts. I used the amperage, not all the volts, to run the stuff in the camper. This is the best way I can explain it. I'm sure somebody's gonna comment down below and say I'm saying things a little bit off, but that's the best way I know how to explain it based on my research. Now, I did a bunch of research online, and it led me to a lot of wrong conclusions because of this truck. Because this truck is bizarre. The stuff online was written in like 17 and 18 and 2010. And yeah, if I'd have hooked a 4-prong hook up this with 240 volts and 30 amps to service that camper, I'd have smoke, I'd have fire, I'd have things going kaput, I'd have blown fuses, I'd have blown the TV, I'd have blown that kind of stuff. Unfortunately for me, breaker here, breakers in the camper, I would have been okay. But talking to my licensed electrician, he's like, there's nothing really wrong with what you're doing. You're basically just dropping off some of the power and running what power you need from this little guy. And this guy was an Amazon. I'll put a link in the description. Not an Amazon affiliate. I don't really give a crap if you buy this or not. I really don't care. But you can buy it if you want to. So that was the secret here, which gets me thinking about like bigger RVs. So this technology eventually will come to fifth wheels. It's just gonna not fifth wheels, heavy duty trucks. The F-250s will eventually get this. 350s will eventually get this. Fords can do this quite a bit. They will probably do the 2.0 kilowatt or 2.4 kilowatt hookup. So the hybrid comes stock with a 2.4, 7.2 kilowatts optional, and then gasoline engines get 2.0 kilowatt, which is their maximum output as far as what you can plug stuff into. So I'd imagine gas versions would get this. I'm guessing they're working on a hybrid situation with the 250s and 350s to be able to get this plug to work, because really this makes a lot more sense in heavy duties than does half ton. Welder applications, plugging a job site, that stuff makes a lot more sense. 3/4 110s. But you could use this 30 amp service on a fifth wheel. Most fifth wheels though, they do have to go up to 50 amps of service, and you basically have, what they do is that plug splits them both off in 2 dog bones with the 120 here and 120 there, and then you plug those in differently in your camper. So you could do that as well. But I was getting some comments on this, and I was going back and forth with a guy today, and got me doing a bunch of research, got me making phone calls, because I was really concerned I just screwed something up, because the worst thing as a journalist is to make mistakes, and I hate mistakes, and I do all the research I can to not do them, but they do happen. But in this case, it did not. According to my electrician, according to what I understand with the truck, according to what I understand online, that's how I was made it work, was I dropped off one of the power, and I used just the power I needed. So it's a cool video. I'll link to, like I said, I'll link to it above in the end. You could boondock with this, with the batteries on board with your camper too, if you have onboard batteries. You could be gone for an indefinite period of time, as long as you can find water and food, and you could be gone for, wow, you're talking like weeks on end, depending on what your power usage is and what you decide to use. If you're just gonna use a microwave and maybe some lights, you could run the batteries that way and then use the truck to recharge the batteries or run the AC overnight or whatever. You could definitely make that work, but it's kind of interesting. So again, I just wanted to explain what that was. So hey, make sure you check the video over here, which will probably be this one when I charge with it, and website down below. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you down the road.